This is going to be from an executive director, Immanuel Harvest Pte Ltd. He's got multitude of experience living and working in Sri Lanka. He's worked in Prima Group. He managed, operate and involved in greenfield startups in Sri Lanka, Malaysia and Singapore. This is none other than Mr. Jeremy Tan, the executive director. Mr. Tan, the stage set is for you. And you have 6 minutes for your presentation, Mr. Tan.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It's evening here for me. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to everyone. I think what has been spoken about by the past few speakers has been quite informative. I think they've touched on a lot of important points when you're talking about creating a sustainable dairy industry in Sri Lanka. The question is it possible? I believe it is. It completely is possible. Now, we have animals there. We have farmers. We have vets, although not enough. We have, an entire value chain who's willing to pay a premium price for good quality milk. I don't see why we can't do it. The question is, how do we do that in that case? How do we ensure that we can create a sustainable value chain? Well, the answer is quite simple. Everyone along the value chain has to make money. Everyone along the value chain has to benefit. And how do we do that? We have to ensure the farmers who have these cows can make money from the milk. They can get good pricing at the farm gate. And in order to do that, they have to create good milk that the producers and milk collectors are willing to collect. We must have good collection centers in order to collect the volume of milk. We have to have good processors who can produce, collect, and send it out to the end consumers, which is us. But what we really actually need to look at is how do we get this entire value chain, synced up, I would say. And that is basically what one of our speakers has touched on, which is feeding. How do we feed them properly? Because if you don't feed them properly, you're never going to get good milk. You're never going to get good quality milk. You're never going to get good quantity of milk, regardless of the breed that you bring in. It doesn't matter whether if you're going to bring in these high capacity Australian cows, Jersey hybrids, and place them up in Norelia where you can get 22 liters per cow, or whether you bring them down to Jaffna, right? It is what you feed them, how you feed them, how you look after them. So today I'm going to be talking more about how do you feed them, what do you feed them. We've heard about silage. Silage is something that's coming into Sri Lanka. I think I think we need to understand what is silage actually. Silage is anything that has been, any kind of forage that can be kept and processed in order to be kept for long-term storage, can be used at any point of time. Why is that important? It's important because Sri Lanka has gone through drought. Sri Lanka is currently, allowing the cows to go out and free graze, which what happens? They do not get enough nutrition. They are wasting a lot of the energy. So we've talked about modernizing the whole industry. Well, that means that you have to put cows back into cow sheds, cow houses. If they are going to be in the houses, the food must get to them. And in order to get food to them, you're now talking about producing something that they can eat nutritiously throughout the year. This can be in fresh grass form or in silage form. Personally, I think there is not much of a big difference. Fresh grass is better because it's more nutritious. But silage is available all year. You can keep it, right? Now the question is, how do you make silage and how do you make grass? Well, cows are not there to eat any kind of grass. We've all heard, we all think all we need to do is let the cows go out to the field and they'll eat and they'll be full and they'll produce lots of milk. If that was the case, we wouldn't be experiencing 2 liters capacity or production right now, right? You will not be, you won't be seeing that. The reason why we have top companies, in the private sector producing 18 liters, 22 liters is because they are looking at the nutrition value, the nutrition input. They're looking at water, availability of water. That was touched on just recently in the last question, right? 2 questions ago. How much water do they need? They need water throughout the day. And you don't put the cows out into the field because that's not where they're supposed to be. They are supposed to be in the shed where it's comfortable. They're less stressed. And when they're less stressed and they're eating good food and have good water, they're producing good milk. And that's when the producers can come to you and say, hey, Mr. Farmer, let me pay you 100 rupees per liter. Let me pay you 120 liters per liter. Now, when that happens, dairy farmers now has incentive to make sure that this works. They're going to start looking into, what kind of food to feed them, right? Are we going to be feeding them, maybe CO3, napier grass? Are we going to feed them, rye? Are we going to feed them, sorghums, legumes? There are many different types, but all has to be tested, all has to be approved, all has to be available in Sri Lanka, which at the moment is not quite there yet. There is, maize fodder, something that has been growing in Sri Lanka and growing quite well. There are lots of cultivation farmers who are cultivating maize. But unfortunately, most of this maize is going to the poultry industry. The poultry industry requires about 400 to 450,000 tons per year, right? And Sri Lanka is only producing about 200 to 250, and that's a shortfall. So what happens? That forces a lot of people to look at importation, which is not possible now. The Sri Lankan government has stopped all importation of maize, which means the poultry industry is going to be impacted. Now, we're going to say, hey, we are in the dairy industry. We need this too. How are you going to be competing? So we need a different solution. And what I've been doing in the last couple of years has been to look at the possibility of using a non-competitive, form of forages. Rye is not competitive. Sugar grace is not competitive. And these products are really good because they have high proteins, high vitamins. They are high in energy. Great. Now you have dairy cows who are now staying in the sheds, very comfortable. You're giving them good water. Now you're giving them food. You've chosen good food, good forage for them. Forages are good in nutrition and good and high in energy. Must be high in energy. If it's not high in energy, what's going to happen? They're not going to produce milk, because what is milk? It's fat. Where does fat come from? It's converted from energy. And when you're having cows walking around wasting energy, you're not producing a lot of milk. When you're eating, forages with less energy, they're not going to be producing milk. If they're not, and if you feed them with food, forages that are not palatable or cannot be digested properly, then you're going to have high wastage. And what does this happen? What does this mean to the dairy farmer? It means the cost per liter goes up. Then their profit margin drops, and there's no more incentive for them to carry on this business. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to look at is really, the feeding system and and how to look at incentivizing the whole industry to work together in the whole value chain. I think that's the most important part. Get the food right,